Now, when it comes to Drake, well, if you are ready to start off the new month with a holiday hit piece that I have been waiting to do after this final thing has been exposed because it is showing us that, well, Drake is in some trouble right within December that, well, is forcing him to have to play a hand that he could have never imagined. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And now, really, as we are at what feels like the breaking point of the Drake downfall, and we're about to see the moment in the coming months, but some people are saying it could be within really weeks and even days, according to some Hall of Fame DoorDash and Teletubbies. Everything, and I mean every single thing, is going to be highly important from what happens here on out until we ultimately see just Drake in a point where there is nowhere to hide. And really, right now, if you have noticed right now, things in the air around the Drake camp as a whole have just changed in terms of the way he's acting, the persona he is creating, and really just trying to deceive everybody with. And at the center of that, the promises that Drake is making. And it seems like from what we know from all of the loser Drake media propaganda pundit puppets, well, right now, all these guys are working overtime to do whatever they can to hype up Drake's next garbage move, which, well, when you see that the only two people saying anything good about it are Akademiks and Gordo, well, you know, things are looking bad. But seriously, and on a personal note, and we may end up hearing Akademiks slip up and tell us this very soon, but there are some reports right now that despite the weird selfies that Drake is posting, and despite trying to bait people into believing that ICEMAN is going to be a classic, and all of his big producers are coming around together and finishing up the thing, well, there is some serious trouble and doubts within the Drake camp, which center around all of the three focal points of the lies that Drake has ultimately built up to create this alter ego for. Of course, lame old lubricant. And while those three things revolve around Drake as a brand, Drake as a hip-hop puppeteer, or I guess we're just gonna say Drake as a rapper to keep it simple, and then Drake's aspirations as a lawyer, which now, at the center of this, and for Drake's entire name and brand, there have been some recent rumors that have been very faint, and anytime it seems to come up, it seems to go right down. Well, that Drake has ran into some trouble, and well, after talking about how much UMG gave him, and how he had this bigger bag than everybody, that, well, all of a sudden things are starting to run dry. And with a lot of the streams that Drake has created, well, he's struggling to keep up with his bills. And now what I am talking about are, well, some faint rumblings within the industry that Drake is bankrupt. And listen, I'll be clear. This does not mean that Drake is completely tapped out of everything and that he does not have more bags to throw around. But it does tell us that there's some trouble going on within the Drake camp in some sort of a way as well. Sometimes this tactic can be used to get out of properly compensating people that you have been working for or that you have to give something to, which now, again, this is all going to get complicated, and ICEMAN has a big role in this because it's seeming to try and muted noise that really is going on around Drake's struggles, and will give his propaganda puppets just something else to talk about as everybody is looking at other things in hip-hop and music overall. But, well, the most we know about Drake's recent struggles here and just the absolute mess and issues that he is having in terms of his personal career and his personal issues, well, the most we can find out and the most about the struggle that we really do know all comes around his loss to Kendrick and specifically, well, the lawsuit, and then the lawsuits that has opened up as now recently what we had found out, and once again because Drake is trying to cover up these things, has kind of went under the radar, is that, well, the lawsuit game is not easy, and it is definitely running him up to extents that we have never seen and that he definitely did not predict, as right now Drake's legal team is working overtime in every sense of the word, and it seems like Drake's well is starting to run dry to really help him out, as just with the Not Like Us lawsuit, which let's remember Drake is now facing multiple lawsuits as well. He has to handle the multiple things that have come out against him in stake, which he is directly named and involved in as well.
And also he has other teams that have to comply and try to work with some of the cases that popped up around Spotify recently. Well, now with all of that and the lawyers within the Not Like Us lawsuit agreeing to push back all of the dates for the appeal that Drake has been trying to get, well, because according to them, they need more time to find information. And well, with the holidays coming up, they just can't handle it right now, which means that Drake's tenure with this team, well, has just gotten extended and it's gotten any longer. And well, as we know, that Drake's legal team is literally reviewing everything right now. They are going to get him for whatever they got. Well, with this and with Drake owning the masters to those streaming numbers from his back catalog, which seemed to be the only thing doing any good around his name, Drake is at a point where things seriously are looking troubling. And well, we are just seeing that things are spiraling out. And really, I can show you the very few things that we do have of this, but with this thing just being so faint in terms of the reporting for Drake being in bankruptcy potentially, and well, anytime something comes up about it, it's just being wiped right off so people can't see. To me, as this is such a massive thing for Drake that would really change the perception around everything we are seeing, I would not be shocked by all of this. And just to see the bad places and deals that Drake is in, whether it's with him in the music industry, him with Stake, or everything with these lawyers and the Not Like Us lawsuit, which seems to really take a big toll on his pockets. And well, in a quick music history lesson, this is one of the reasons why a lot of artists never pursue this heavy legal action against labels, because despite whatever else you want to say about it, it ends up just costing more than just making new music and giving fans new experiences where you can actually just walk away with a nice bag from it. Overall, with this, we are seeing that Drake is in a really bad place and something weird is definitely happening at the very least. And, even if we look in hip hop and see that these other megastars and giants in terms of being mogul and somebody who was used as the industry, as the face of hip hop and what you represented in their portfolio, and seeing them go bankrupt in the past, like 50 Cent and Kanye, and well, those are two of Drake's biggest idols and two of his closest friends in terms of just the people in rap who have helped some position in the culture highly. And well, I guess just basing that off the metric of if they even look or talk to Drake or not. Listen, just seeing all this, don't be surprised if you find out that Drake is genuinely doing terrible right now. And he's trying to just save himself however he can, which, well, now speaking of himself, speaking of things given away, he works for Drake and going to a place where now he has to put every single thing that his career is relying on into this one effort. Well, right now, if you have noticed, the Drake team is really trying to hype up this ICEMAN record. And I think right now, if you have felt it, the hype rate just never been lower and people just don't even care about this project anymore. And well, I'm sure when it drops, everybody will tune in and get a good laugh. I don't think there's really any positive attention that the project is garnering and anything that is going to lead to Drake to have a really big moment that can get him out of all of these troubles and will create a body of work that can maybe sustain him some sort of leverage or growth in the industry where he has just been falling apart and well, now he is on the verge of bankruptcy, seemingly. And so with all of that understood, Drake is seemingly trying to tease the ICEMAN project right now by showing off all the people who have been working on it, showing that they are out in the Bahamas in the studios and working on something big. And well, Drake pretty much has assembled his production team of Avengers. And again, he is banking on his entire reputation by putting these things out and showing that things are going to be great. And seemingly everything else he has been doing recently is also trying to just bait people into thinking that this record is going to be good. Well, with all of that, what we are finding out is that aside from those people that Drake is working with and whatever writers he's not telling us unless he is writing this himself, which if that's the case, then this project is really in trouble. Well, what we have ended up finding out from DJ Akademiks, who really is doing so much work to try and make anybody give any sort of a care about this project in the world. I'm just going to let him explain it, but it all centers around Drake working with people and trying to bring in hype to his career and those records through that way, which, well, what A had to say about that is this. Do a collab with Chris Brown, tell him the fans haven't wanted for... I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not going to ask Drake that question. I'm not going to ask Drake that question. Come on, if you're a fan of Drake, you could clearly see maybe he and Chris Brown aren't best of friends. When he literally says, I think who's CB, and then you see CB over here pop lock and dropping it to Not Like Us. Like, over here pop locking and dropping it to Not Like Us. Like, come on, bro. You can tell you're not, like, best. So, like, Drake, dude, look, a collab album. Like, of course they're both goes on the right home, right? But you clearly could tell they're not even speaking, or they're not speaking as frequently, because Drake says CV, and then you see CV, like, Not Like Us. Like, you doing all that? Like, in the club. You're like, yo, bro. So again, I don't think that's going to happen. Don't waste your breath. And I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think you should respectfully, and this is just my opinion, I don't think you should be expecting any Drake collaborations. I don't think Drake feels he needs or wants to collaborate with none. Period. Just leave it there. It's Drake versus everybody. And not necessarily he has problem with these guys, but I think Drake has shown massive amounts of love to the entire industry. And there's no benefit in him collaborating with somebody even if he has no problems with them. What's the point of Drake
collaborating with someone right now? None. You got what I'm saying? I think Drake is gonna ride into the foreseeable future and no pun intended, right in the foreseeable future by just being selfish with the clout. You know what I mean? So, when ICEMAN drops, I think he might do a few collabs and stuff, but I think it's going to be really tailored and it's going to be more strategic than ever before. I think before Drake was on some, if it's a hot song, it makes sense. Like, he'll do a few, I think this time around he's going to be on some, and not necessarily on some neat, but it's like, bro, these collabs are not helping Drake at this point. You know what I'm saying? And so, with that statement, which DJ Akademiks made, which, I mean, with the way he has been talking recently and with everything he has been saying, it's clear that he has been in some sort of communication with Drake once again and is doing whatever Drake tells him to do as well. He is just that pathetic, and no matter what Drake ends up doing and how he betrays him, Ak is always going to just do whatever he says. Wow. With all of this now, as Ak was talking about Drake working with Chris Brown potentially, and then he did this weird dance and then went on a whole tangent about the state of how Drake is working with people. Well, we are finding out with this entire ICEMAN record, and well, after Central C said that which one he heard was not going to be on the final body of work, that only confirms to us all of our suspicions all the more. Well, listen, what we're finding out for ICEMAN is that Drake is going to be facing bankruptcy either way, because after what he has now confirmed, this seriously is going to be one of the most creative bankrupt records that I have ever heard. And what I am referring to is not the fact that Akademiks is confirming that Drake is not going to be working with anybody and he's not going to be given any more features, well, for the foreseeable future, because he is on this wave where he is not rocking with anybody and he is trying to prove some sort of a bigger point. And, well, Akademiks thinks he is so cool saying this, and he thinks that this is going to make people shocked or excited for what Drake is going to have in store. To me, this is telling us so much about Drake. Which honestly, while Drake can try to hide behind his gimmick that he was betrayed in the beef and that's why he's not working with anybody after doing all the collaborations he had and suddenly saying that he is not doing any now, I think there are some more reasons for that, which maybe is because with a lot of these artists who happen to be signed to the same label that he is from, well, again, I think there are some serious issues that are all about the bag that Drake is really trying to hold out on as much as he can. And well, even with the producer list that Drake is working with, which there are some big producers that have been nowhere to be found near Drake. Honestly, what it started to seem like is that ICEMAN is just going to be a value Drake album or a Drake album from Wish or whatever other. And so you want to put it there to just see that Drake is not doing his thing whatsoever and that he is failing like an all-time loser. But seriously, beyond all of that, what I think the massive concern is with Drake saying that he's not going to be working with anybody. And honestly, when you see the way he has been moving recently, it's clear that even with people who he has acted like he's cool with, like 21 Savage and Lil Yachty, well, he hasn't even been around them. Well, ultimately now is the fact that with every Drake album for a long time, and this has been his biggest crutch and the thing that he has relied on to really just stay relevant and kick up the numbers and pace that he did, well, to just release music over and over again, well, all comes down to the fact that Drake built albums that were dry-rooted
and pretty much copy and impersonate all off of guests that he brought along the way, and all off of guests who gave him style, gave him swag, gave him confidence, and gave him momentum that he didn't really have for himself, and that he just put his name on to try and look like he really discovered something when all he did was just echoing or mirroring their flailet. Because seriously, if Drake is not going to have new names on this record, who can supplement for the absolute creative bankruptcy that he has? Listen, I've heard the ICEMAN may be dropping very soon, and honestly, if there are no features, I am more terrified than I was even if there were going to be. Because honestly, despite how cringe it is, hearing Drake tried to act like half of his age and, well, do something like Cash Cobain, where they try to impersonate Lil Yachty with a song where Yachty made the reference track, or try to impersonate another song where he told Drake what to do, or Drake just copied what he was doing, or, well, you get what I'm saying. Hearing Drake just trying to be something that he is so clearly not, and he's impersonating another rapper who has built some sort of a wave. Well, if you're telling me that we're not going to see any of that on ICEMAN, and we're going to see him try to get off original ideas that him and like Gordo, yes, Gordo of all people, have been working on, well, if it's anything like this generated picture that Gordo put up with the two of them, which is just really the biggest slot fest of slot that I have ever seen, and honestly, to me, it just shows the level that these losers are really working at. Listen, right now, well, Drake is trying to say otherwise, and there are puppets who are trying to create an impression of something that is not. I think ICEMAN really has the potential to be the biggest catastrophe, not just of Drake's career, but of hip-hop this decade, and you know what, maybe this century. And I know this may sound like a huge reach, but maybe of all time. And the reason why I say that is because to see where Drake has put himself and to see what he represented after 15 years, if this record fails, it's really over. The run is really over. His name is really over. And if we just look at what's been going on in hip-hop and see how, well, outside of Kendrick Lamar clips, Tyler the Creator, and a few other real artists, well, the genre, and specifically within it, the game and gritsters that Drake used and created to make the mess that ultimately was his era of hip-hop, well, right now, it's all going over. Listen, if ICEMAN ends up failing and it doesn't have massive hit songs and it doesn't do any numbers, and, well, it just comes and goes, that is going to be the end of that whole wave of hip-hop. And while that would be a good thing in terms of the artistic sense, what's also at play here is hip-hop's place in the music industry in the future it has in terms of being the big players in the portfolio as the leading genre, or, well, right next to pop and country music. And, well, what that means is then that labels and the industry are going to deprioritize hip-hop, put a further shift away from it than it already feels like there is. And listen, well, there's some potential good things to happen with that. What that ultimately does mean is that there is less opportunities from hip-hop and, well, names who come from hip-hop to really climb up the ladder, work their way in the industry, and, well, build sustainable careers. And really, that's what worries me about this entire moment. And that's why I hope that somebody else really does swoop in and save hip-hop, and maybe, just maybe, Kendrick Lamar will come back for something else again, and we'll just show that, again, nobody can do anything like a rapper at the highest level. Because seriously, if we don't get Kendrick Lamar to come out and change things, because I don't think there's anybody else who really can, Drake is going to take the entire value of hip-hop in this time where the industry honestly just feels like it's looking for any other reason to just push away from this genre and put all of their efforts now into pop and country music. And really, this is just what worries me about this, as funny as it is to see Drake fail as well. Now, between all of the mistakes he has made, from his failure in the beef to the lawsuit, all the way to what is about to become ICEMAN, which is going to be the most creatively bankrupt thing ever, well, honestly, it's just insane, because really with the way Drake's failure has went, and with how much trouble he has caused in the music industry, and with what he is showing the value of hip-hop is with his music, that is just straight trash, and, well, it doesn't even represent what the actual culture is feeling. With all of that, he really has potential to take this entire thing and put it in the place where, again, while the Drake era will end, and that means we won't get as much trash rap music as we were for a period of time, there is still an effect that is going to have on even the good part of rap as a whole. So listen, as we are in the final month of 2025 now, and while the clock is ticking for Drake to drop ICEMAN and to fix these personal issues, and while there's a lot more we need to discuss, just really look around and see what is happening with this, because honestly, with the way that this rollout for Drake goes, of just the story circulated about him and what the message that he had some imprinting on, well, the other side, just the other picture of hip hop that is showing what the rest of the genre looks like beyond a Kendrick Lamar, wow, things have just never been more important. And with that, and with Drake's name being involved in that conversation, to me, that just means that things have never been scarier. There is no other way to put that. And so with all that said, let me know, what do you think about where Drake is going right now? What is on the line? And just all of the problems and messes that he has really created, but now he is facing. And what implications do you think this is going to have on the music industry? And what do you really think it's going to show if we find out that Drake is a bankrupt rapper who has all of these legal troubles that he put himself within, and that his own choices made worse, and now he has a trash album that is showing that his time in the limelight is really over. Now listen, if you made it this point in the video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton, and I cannot thank you enough. You do appreciate your support, and I hope you have a great day. Now listen, if you want to see how in this time where a lot of things in rap are being defined that are just going to show how the future of the genre is going to work, well, within that, the game just made things really bad for him, as he just got exposed and called out and trashed for disrespecting Kendrick Lamar within a way that I don't think he is ever going to come back from, as he really is now getting banned from West Coast hip hop as a whole. You're not going to want to miss this one, so check out the suggested video.